Riverfront here on our left-hand side, quite popular during the warmer summer months for picnicking and sunbathing. Across the road to the left is a large brown-coloured building. That's the old power station. Mildura's first power supply came from steam engines housed in this building. They powered turbines and pumped water from the Murray River for their boilers for a small pumping shed just on the left-hand bank ahead of it. The main building there is now used as a training centre and meeting place for a local theatre company, while alongside the old keeper's house is now an art studio, normally open to the public on weekends and public holidays. We also have JC Park there, beautiful park area, plenty of play equipment for children, an old steam locomotive for the early railways, electric barbecues and toilet facilities. Here, but sitting on the slipway over in Wentworth at the present time, undergoing general maintenance work. The paddle boat you can see ahead of us on the left there, chrome white paddle boat, is the Avoca. The Avoca was built in Melbourne, South Australia in 1877. Large cargo paddle steamer, as well as carrying a load of cargo on its hull. It could also tow two fully loaded cargo barges behind her. In the 1880s, the Avoca left the Murray River and steamed around to the Port of Adelaide, where she was used for carrying cargo from the shallow port areas out into the deeper water where the cargo ships were waiting to be loaded. Returning back to the Murray in the 1930s, a few years later, it was converted into the showboat Avoca and started carrying passengers up and down the river for parties and dance nights. And it's no longer in operation at the moment. It's actually for sale. The asking price around $500,000. It is still set up as a restaurant vessel at the present time, but it's quite easy to be turned into a very nice private paddleboat.
What?
1 metre of water would be too shallow for the large vessels to navigate. This weir is the only one of its kind along the Murray River. It's an Australian designed weir called the Depth Bridge Weir. It can be removed from the river during flood times or for maintenance purposes. The lock chamber is not alongside the weir wall like all others along the Murray. The lock chamber here in Mildura is actually situated in Victoria. The river flows down past the weir there and around the next bend past those 3 houseboats. This channel that we're entering here is man-made, simply dug out to allow the boats to get to and from the lock chamber. When they dug this channel out, it formed an island on our right-hand side called Lock Island. It's around 20...
The lock gates are closing behind us. Sorry? The lock gates are closing behind us, see?
Well, we're tied up in the chamber here now. We have the gates behind us there closing. Once the gates behind us are closed, the water in the chamber here will be secure. It'll be up to the lockmaster to release the water and lower us down to the next level outside the gates ahead of us there. The lock chamber was built at the same time as the weir and has concrete walls and floor, 2 steel gates at each end of the chamber. The chamber is 61 metres long, 17 metres wide and 7 metres deep.
Hey Daryl!
At the bottom of the chamber, in all 4 corners, are large tunnels. These tunnels are around 1.7 metres high, around 1.3 metres wide. The tunnels go through the concrete wall, around past the gates, and back into the channel on the opposite side of the gates. The tunnels have large valves in them, so once the gates behind us there have closed, the lockmaster will open the valves in the tunnels ahead of us and release the water from the chamber out into the river. Once he opens those valves, the water will drain out of the chamber at a rate of around 3 feet a minute, or almost 1 million litres per minute. Once we're being lowered down to the next level, and we'll travel out into the river ahead of us there, we'll be below the Mildura weir, and that'll mean that we're in the influence of the Wentworth weir. And Murray in 1853, they soon realised they could only operate around 4 or 5 months of the year, normally just after the heavy rain seasons when the river was high or in flood. At its normal level, the river was too shallow for the large vessels to navigate.
Yeah.
By the 1870s and 80s, there was literally hundreds of paddle steamers and barges navigating rivers now used as a major part of the irrigation water scheme. recognised flood. Around halfway down, I could count 8 of the red marks. You have the 1993 level, and in 1996 the floodwaters are just over the top of the lock walls here. The flood levels do vary from town to town depending on what part of the route you're travelling along and where the rainfalls come from. So you have floods every 10 to 15 years, so we are due for one.